Ladies and gentlemen,
We did 11.
at this time, I'd like to call the March 24th Diversion Board of Authority meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Mr. Peterson.
I am here.
Dr. Mahoney.
Here.
Mayor Dardis.
Here.
Mayor Carlson.
Here.
Mr. Hendrickson.
Here.
Mr. Pepcorn. Mr. Ebinger.
Here.
Mr. Strand.
Here.
Mr. Campbell.
Here.
Mrs. Sherling.
Here.
Mr. Steen.
Here.
Mr. Olson.
Here.
Mr. Selzbold. Quorum is present.
We have quorum, thank you. Committee members, mayors, commissioners, other team members in the authority. We have item 2 on our agenda, which is approval of meeting minutes from February 24th. Look for a motion to approve, amend, discuss.
So moved.
Moved and seconded. We approve our meeting as presented. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. We have to approve the order of agenda. I do not see any amendments that I'm aware of, so you have the agenda as presented before. You look for a motion to approve.
So moved, Ebinger.
Is there a second, please?
Second.
Moved and seconded, approval of the order of the agenda. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Consent agenda.
Move
Presumably-
to approve consent.
Wonderful. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Move and second, the consent agenda be approved as presented. Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? If not, roll call vote, please.
Mr. Peterson.
Yes.
Dr. Mahoney.
Yes.
Mayor Dardis.
Yes.
Mayor Carlson.
Yes.
Mr. Hendrickson.
Aye.
Mr. Ebinger.
Aye.
Mr. Strand.
Yes.
Mr. Campbell.
Yes.
Mrs. Sherling.
Yes.
Mr. Steen.
Yes.
Mr. Olson.
Yes.
That is everyone.
Motion passes. Thank you, everyone. On to the regular agenda, item 4, Executive Director's Report. Mr. Paulson, what do you know?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, I'll give you a little update on some of the things that have been going on in March. Again, another very active month as we continue to coordinate with the Red River Valley Alliance, and we have a number of other initiatives going on. Some of the media highlights, Chris Bockygaard and Jason Benson presented at the North Dakota Transportation Conference. I think that was very well received. A lot of questions about the P3 and the arrangement, the contracting arrangement that we have with RRVA. John Shockley and myself presented at the P3 conference in Dallas last week. That was on March 15th. We co-presented with members from Red River Valley Alliance, and I think it was really well received. The project is just receiving all kinds of attention at the national level because it is one of only 20 P3 projects that closed last year and the only project in the water space, in flood control space, and obviously the only split delivery core project. So a lot of attention on the project, how we did what we did. There was a lot of unique interest in how quickly we achieved financial close, which I think is a testament to the hard work and diligence that went into putting together the financial arrangement and all the requirements and all the due diligence that went into the WIFIA loan, the PABs, and all of the other alternative financing mechanisms that we use. So congratulate John Shockley for a lot of hard work on that end, obviously. We also had flowage easement public meetings that just kind of wrapped up this week. On the Minnesota side, we did the North Dakota side last week. Pretty well received by the members that the general public that attended. Not very many questions about the flowage easements, which I think is good that we're clear in how we're calculating the value of those flowage easements, and more questions related to different odds and ends about the project. The crop insurance and some other funding related questions were received. And then we are scheduling the groundbreaking ceremony for the channel with the Red River Valley Alliance, and we tentatively have that scheduled for June 28th at 2 p.m. So more information to come over the course of the next month as we work together with them to plan that event. For all intents and purposes, I think there's going to be a lot of room out there, and we're expecting to probably have a lot of invites and a lot of people that have touched this project over the years that would be invited to attend that event. Some major project accomplishments that occurred this last month. We did receive the Water P3 Deal of the Year on March 3rd, and we received another award last week, the IJ Global Award for Public Project of the Year. So these are both international organizations that are recognizing our project for the uniqueness, and so it's probably no surprise that we're winning awards, but we obviously aren't doing this for awards, but they're nice recognition for the board members and staff that have worked so hard on this project to get it to where it is today.
Mr. Chairman?
Go ahead, Mayor.
Mayor Mahoney.
You know, when the Bison get the National Champion Award, it's like this big thing that we get to see. Is the board at some point going to see what your awards look like? Are they like big statues or the Gipper or what?
They're just golden candy bars, Mayor.
Oh.
Joel's eating them all.
Well, Mayor, I was going to bring the IJ Global Award, but I was worried it was going to run off with one of the board members. So it is in our office if you want to come and see it. So.
I know Kevin would like to see it. He gets to touch the Bison Award, so we might as well let this stuff happen.
Joel, as long as we're talking about awards, one of the things that you and I spoke about, or some of the team members spoke about, was sharing some of these victories with our friends at the state level and certainly national level to make sure they know that this was a valid project in a lot of other people's eyes, not just ours, that when we look across the nation and arguably the world, there are people paying attention to the Fargo-Moorhead, Cass Clay County area. So I think it would be prudent to share some of the things, even if it's quick emails to staff and our friends in DC and our friends in Bismarck. I think it's prudent to share these victories.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, Chairman Peterson, and we have been coordinating with the state and federal folks on these awards.
Okay.
In fact, we had John Shockley and I had a conversation with Aaron Schneider at the Corps, and he's trying to continue to progress this split delivery concept and bring it Corps wide, for many different projects. And there's still a lot of work to be done on that front. As Senator Hoeven had mentioned, there were 14 pieces of legislation necessary for this specific project to get us to where we're at today. And so there's just a lot of work that needs to be done in DC. He did advise that, at some point it would make sense to do some testimony in front of committees in DC concerning the value that the P3 arrangement brought to this project. We keep hearing about the cost savings versus traditional delivery of $330 million in the 10 years of schedule savings by putting together this arrangement. But there's also a whole, the federal and the local share component that just allows the Corps and the federal government to do more of these projects like this. So there's a lot of lessons learned, and we are working with the Corps to document those and make sure that we're pushing those up the ladder so that Congress ultimately sees the benefit of what we're doing here.
And clearly our friends across the river as they traverse down to St. Paul, this would also be a wonderful weapon for advocacy.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. Paulson. Please continue.
Thank you. A few P3 updates. Red River Valley Alliance did achieve NTP1 on February 28th. That gave them the ability to begin design, and so they are diligently working on that. We expect some of the first submittals to start rolling in within the next few weeks. So the team is going to be really busy receiving those, reviewing those, getting those to the Office of the State Engineer and working through that process that we have in place. We did have another kickoff workshop February 22nd. The first one was somewhat hamstrung by COVID, but we were able to get it taken care of. And then we do anticipate NTP2, which would be basically the initiation of construction to be sometime June of 2022. So we're probably not where we had anticipated when we closed the P3 deal as far as what the anticipated schedule that we received from Red River Valley Alliance. But I think from my perspective, things are moving and progressing the way they should. I think there were some just mobilization challenges, workforce challenges, to set up the RRVA team here. But we are moving forward in a very positive manner at this point. I'll do a few.
Mr. Paulson, if I
Yes.
can jump in real quick. I know we talked about, and I'm looking at my friend Mr. Benson and some of our engineering team in the room. We talked about the involvement regarding submittal of shop drawings and their design and detailing. I'm presuming that's progressing on schedule and our team is being kept abreast of all that, yes?
Yeah, so we have, that's correct. We haven't received any designs for review yet, but they should be coming now. We needed to, our RVA needed to achieve NTP1 before they could start the design process. And so now that we've received that and it's been a few weeks, we are anticipating receiving those documents as they start coming in. As you can imagine, the channel and all of the different components, there's a lot of different design documents that will need to be prepared. RRVA is only allowed to have 20 submittals open to us at any one time. That was by design and the technical requirements so that we didn't overload our engineering staff and that we could, work through them all and get them turned around in a timely fashion to keep them progressing. So once those design documents start coming in, they're just going to keep coming in. We'll never have more than 20, but once we turn those around, other ones will continue. And that process will go on for the next few years. So a lot of work ahead of us, obviously, but we feel we have the support and the resources to be able to manage that process.
Thank you, sir.
So Terry couldn't join us today, so I'll just do some brief core updates. She is on vacation, much needed vacation for her. I'll never be able to do as good of a job as Miss Williams, but I'll attempt the best I can. This was put together and put in your packets prior to the actual award of the Red River structure, and that was awarded last week. Happy to report to the board that the winning bidder was Ames Construction for $115 million. I do believe the estimate on the project was somewhere around the 130 mark, so it was very encouraging to see bids in this environment with interest rates where they're at, material prices where they're at. We're still getting projects that are coming in under budget on the core side. So very positive. We do anticipate that to initiate construction this spring and summer. So it'd be great to get another structure, the largest one, under construction. And can't say enough about Ames and the great work that they've done on the inlet and the wild rice structure and keeping those on budget and on schedule. And I certainly think that will continue on now with the Red River control structure. We did receive the Drain 27 bids. They haven't awarded that project yet, but that is another one that's anticipated to start construction this summer. And then we're currently in the bidding process for the Drayton Dam. And as the board recalls, this was a environmental mitigation project in Drayton, North Dakota, where we're removing a dam and enhancing fish passage through the Red River all the way from the Canadian border to Fargo. And then the Corps is starting design of Reach SE4 and SE5 on the Minnesota side. And really the benefit of that is we're going to be able to get the detailed right-of-way drawings so that we can start to work with the landowners on the Minnesota side, and we'll know specifically the footprint of what we'd be looking at acquiring from those landowners. So we should be able to get that information fairly shortly. So. With that, certainly open to any questions, Mr. Chair.
Any questions for Mr. Paulson? Any questions? Anything further, sir?
No, sir.
All right, let's jump to item 5. Mr. Shockley, anything to educate us on? No. Okay, so everything legally is taken care of, resolved, perfect as can be? Oh, I was going to say never an ounce of litigation from this point on. Rock and roll. I'll put you on the record for that. Item 6. Presume, Mr. Paulson, you took care of item 6 for us?
Yes, sir.
Okay. This might be a rather efficiently run meeting. Item 7, public outreach. Mr. Olson?
Chairman Peterson, we did not have a meeting this month, but I know a lot of effort was put into getting notifications out for these 5 meetings that we had on the flow easements and I know a lot of work is being done behind the scenes that we probably just don't see yet, but that's my report for the outreach.
Okay, thank you, sir. Amy?
Yes, I have a few updates as well that I can add on some of the behind the scenes work, board members. We recently completed a few videos working to really get some more nugget-sized information out there that's really easily consumable to help people better understand the project. One on construction, one on some of the financial updates, and then of course that operations video we finally had the chance to roll out. And within a week of pushing that out, we were up close to 900 views on YouTube. So it's really starting to get attention. So I'm glad that that is helping to educate a lot of folks already on how the project works. Also got some drone footage of those first gate deliveries that came in, and hope to get a little bit more when the last ones come at the end of this month, so we can see full scale of what's going on with those gates. With Jody's leadership, we're continuing to update the website as well. There's a new authority page and a media kit, so this should make it a lot easier for the media that we work with to pull high-resolution photos and other things that they might need beyond just getting a news release in their email. And just held a discovery session for the new site this past week, and we still have some more work to do there, but it's exciting to be moving forward with Flint and starting to get things set for that new site. And really the work on the site now is setting a good foundation for what we'll need moving forward. I believe you all saw the release on those 3 international awards, which is always great. Also worked on a bit of collateral material for the dispute review board, needing to do some recruitment for that, and so was able to create a handout that the team was able to take with them and work to recruit some members for that, and then also providing some of the content and PowerPoint information for the conferences and meetings this past month. Looking ahead, we've started working on some land agent profiles as well. We're calling this the faces of the diversion, and really just trying to show that this isn't just the government project. We're real people behind every portion of this, friends, neighbors, and so the land agents are the next focus that we've been working toward and doing a few interviews in that regard. Also with Commissioner Strand's request, we've started some posts on social media leading up to the 2009 flood crest commemoration, and also opened up a media availability for this Friday with a number of the city and county engineers, as well as the MFDA team, so that if the media is looking to speak to not just 13 years later, but where are we now and what does this look like? What progress have we made? And what would things look like if we were to see some flooding in the not too distant future? Still more conferences coming up. Actually, the WTOC update was this week, a couple NDSU class presentations as well, and then looking forward to the P3 Water Summit, which will be a panel presentation in San Diego in early April. Also starting to move forward a little bit with that NDSU study, and as well as a message map that will be focused on acquisition prices. So I'm sure you will see that in an upcoming board bulletin. And then the crisis communications plan is in final review. So lots of work, like Roger said, going on in the background, and lots to come. And then just a reminder on the next slide to save the date for that groundbreaking. We have a lot to coordinate, but that will be an exciting event.
Mr.
Pending
Chairman.
any questions?
Commissioner Strand.
Thank you. Amy, that NDSU housing labor study, do you know more about where that's coming from, who's involved? Because there's several entities now doing housing studies.
Yes. Joel and Mike, who's one of our consultants, have been working closely on that.
Yeah, good question, Commissioner Strand. So the study is an economic impact study. So the housing and labor workforce is just a component of an overall view. The phase 1 of the study is focusing on the impact of construction on the local economy over the course of the next 5 years. And then we would hope to commission a phase 2, bring that to the board for consideration. That would be an analysis of what the project will, how the project will impact the local economy after it's built, after we remove the flood insurance requirements, after we reconfigure the floodplain, and in what that looks like and what that means for the local communities and the local economy. But I will say we're moving forward with it. There's been a number of discussions with the Corps, with Red River Valley Alliance, as far as workforce and the contracting forces, the materials market, and then we are getting them involved with the cities of Fargo and Moorhead, and we would hope to expand that with the administrators to talk about what their views of their specific communities are, and kind of getting that data and starting to work through that process. So I would anticipate it's going to be a few more months before we're ready to see any kind of draft conclusions from that study, but it is moving forward.
Any further questions for our outreach team? If not, we'll progress on to number 8, land management. Commissioner Sherling, you want to lead us off?
Sure, thanks. Well, in your packet, you can see all the colorful maps, and the colors continue to turn. We have in the past month continued offer letters were sent, and negotiations have been started now on the flowage easements, and I believe we're starting off and already having some agreements put in place. There's going to be 361 parcels in the upstream mitigation area. We continue to work on acquiring structures and structure sites in that area and environmental monitoring easements. And we've, to date, acquired property interests in over 760 parcels. Appraisals are ongoing for the upstream structures, including farmsteads, the residential areas, and the rural areas, et cetera. Phase 2 flowage easement appraisals have been approved by the Cass County Joint Water Resource District and the Minnesota Joint Board in February, and appraisal work will be started for SE2B in April. So we continue to support current eminent domain actions and settlement solutions. We're working on relocations and farmstead reestablishment planning, and we're in the process of completing the 2022 farmland lease agreements. And then, of course, we had the 5 open house informational meetings in the last couple of weeks. I know many of us attended those. I felt that they seemed to be very successful. I want to express my appreciation to Eric and Jody and the entire staff that put that together. I think it was a really important effort moving forward, and will make things easier for both the landowners and the project. I don't know if Jody or Eric wants to add anything, any report on those, but I do think they were well received. Some really good questions, and we're compiling those questions and putting them on the website so people can refer to those easier. So that would be all I have. I believe Commissioner Campbell has a lengthy report today, and then perhaps Mr. Olson has anything to add from the Cass County Joint Board.
I will keep it short.
Oh.
So I will talk a little bit about February, because I was not able to be at our last meeting. So like Mary did say, we also approved the flowage easement appraisals that did go out to the landowners. We continue to work on and approve some housing differential payments in the upstream mitigation area. We did receive and heard about the 2021 Farmland Annual Report. And we are also looking at reviewing the 2022 farmland leases that would happen on the Minnesota side. And today we also approved another appraisal and a housing relocation for another property. And we did agree with an administrative settlement with the Heartland Seed Company in the southern area. So that one, I think we're getting close to being able to close and finalize on that. And that's been something that our land agents have been in the works on for a long time. So that's a real positive sign with that moving forward. And we did approve a landowner being able to continue a haying license with a haying license agreement. That concludes my report.
Wonderful. Commissioner Sherling, your chair. Anything else from our land management team?
Unless Mr. Olson has anything to add.
Just very quickly, Cass County Joint Board met this morning, and we okayed one business reestablishment payment to a business, and we made one offer of just compensation. Our land agents continue to work with farmers and their farmsteads, looking at how we can best relocate them, and working with the RIMP loans. That continues to go on. A lot of things have been happening behind the scenes. I think you've heard that. And another thing that was brought up today at our meeting was we'd like to continue using trades on land that we own that could be used to mitigate for the farmers or landowners that we need to acquire from. That's all I have, Mary.
Okay, thank you, Roger.
Commissioner, anything further?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Anything from our team? I saw some no's, so, okay, wonderful. Item 9, Finance. Mayor Dardis, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Finance Committee met yesterday. As you can see on your packet, the Finance Committee reviewed the board approval contracting actions as well as the MOUs as presented by Mr. Shockley that came forward. Our financial position remains very strong, and that was basically about what we had to handle. I would like to make one comment, please, about Mr. Kent Costin. Mr. Costin is retiring from the city of Fargo on April 1st, and he has been a very valued part of our team, the Finance Committee, for years as to the role that he has played, and he's done it very professionally, and he's done it extremely well. So yesterday was our last meeting with Mr. Costin, and we greatly appreciated that effort. And if he's listening at this point in time, thank you again, Kent. It's been a pleasure to work with him. Thank you, sir. That's it.
Thank you, Mayor Dardis. One thing I was remiss in saying yesterday when you mentioned the same thing during our committee meeting was I don't think he's aware of how many times he was talked about behind his back when we had Mr. Montplaisir before his moving on. The alliance we had between the city's financial team and the county's financial team was just amazing. And it was so well conducted, so efficient. In the amount of, cut to the chase here, the amount of revenue that saved taxpayers, just having the right people in place. We will never be able to quantify what that dollar figure is, but it was certainly bigger than a bread box. So from the county's perspective, eminently grateful to our team in Fargo as always, but particularly as Mr. Costin moves on to whatever may be next, I hope he understands the gratitude we had from the courthouse. Mayor Dardis, anything? Oh, Mayor Mahoney, please.
I'd like to echo that as well, Chad, because the relationship between the county and the city was excellent during that time. And I'd like to say both of them what we would call fearless. They had no idea what we were getting into, and the money kept getting more and more, and somehow they figured it out and kept it all straight. But there's no question the taxpayers were saved millions of dollars with the work of them. And when they brought Shockley in on the deal as well, then we got more money than we ever had expected when we started this journey. So, yeah, they did fantastic. Thank you.
Mayor Dardis, anything further, sir? With that other business, Mr. Paulson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just one note, program information points. We have them on the table here, so please grab one on your way out. We did not include those in the packet. They're really just for board members to keep you up to date because we have so many things going on. As you can see by what we talked about here today, there's just a lot of things that are starting, and things are going to get real busy over the course of the next few years here. So we do intend to keep those project information points updated and release them on a quarterly basis or less if need be, depending on the situation. So I just wanted to make the board members aware of that. And of course, if you have any questions, you can contact me or any of our directors as well. So.
Mr. Paulson, anything further?
That's all.
Thank you, Joel, for keeping Chad from having the record shortest meeting we've had. You just delayed him by 1 minute, and he is not going to get the international award as the shortest meeting this version has had.
Well, Mayor Mahoney, we could keep talking about diversion if you want me to.
Mr. Paulson, anything else under other business?
No, that's all. Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Chair.
Next meeting is April 28th. Look for number 12, please.
I was going to make a motion while Mahoney was talking, but I'd move that we adjourn to keep this short.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We stand adjourned. Thank you, everyone, and thank you for all of those attending virtually as well.